Hello and welcome to another video from Midas Touch Toys, Games, Collectibles. And today, well, we're looking at something that is now very collectible, is very old and becoming increasingly more difficult to find, especially in the condition that we're looking at this particular one today. We are looking at the 1964 release by Armada Paperback Books from their TV tie-in series of paperback novels. And this particular one we're looking at is from Doctor Who, and it's called Doctor Who in an Exciting Adventure with the Daleks, and it was written by David Whittaker. Now, as you know, Doctor Who first aired on British television in 1963 in an episode called An Unearthly Child, which was the first episode of a four-part serial, which was the series titled 1000 BC, and it introduced you to the Doctor as portrayed by William Hartnell, his granddaughter Susan Foreman as portrayed by Karen Ann Ford, and her two school teachers, Jacqueline Hill, who played Barbara Wright, and William Russell, who played Ian Chesterton. Basically, after the first four episodes are finished, the end of the fourth episode saw the TARDIS arrive on a dead planet, which was the first glance of the Dalek serial, which was called the Dead Planet, and it was the first serial to introduce the Daleks to us back in 1963. So William Hartnell went on to portray the Doctor for 3 years. He portrayed it up until 1966, and his final storyline was the 10th Planet, which he regenerated at the end of that episode into the second Doctor as portrayed by Patrick Troughton. But that's another story. Anyway, this paperback novel we're looking at today is based on that first Dalek story. Although it is slightly different because the storybook is a book on its own, so it's the beginning of the story has been changed somewhat to where Ian and Barbara meet Susan and the Doctor. So it's a little bit different to what was actually on screen, but still a great story. Anyway, let's have a look at the book itself. So this is the front cover, and you've got the Armada logo at the very top. It says Armada Paperback for boys and girls, and the cover price is 2 and 6, so 2 and 6pence. It says Doctor Who in an Exciting Adventure with the Daleks by David Whittaker, and you can see an image of William Hartnell as the Doctor and the TARDIS in the background. Okay, so that's the front cover. So let's now turn the book round to the back and see what we got printed on the back. Okay, so I've turned the book round to the back, and this is what it shows on the back. So it says, the story from the beginning. Here is the exciting adventure of Doctor Who, Susan, Barbara and Ian, from the moment they meet one foggy autumn night on a lonely common beside a police box. Ah, but what a curious police box, to the time they encounter the weird Daleks. It is a thrilling story, and we know this book will be one of the most popular published in the Armada series. Can you wait any longer? Start reading Doctor Who. Okay, nice introduction there. A little bit different, as I said, to the story as we see it on TV, but still a nice introduction. Okay, that's the front and back covers. Let's have a very quick look at the spline, and it just says Doctor Who, Armada Books, Doctor Who, David Whittaker, and you've got the number at the bottom there, which is 3130. Okay, I think what we're going to do now is we're going to open the book, and we're going to go through the first few pages. We're not going to go through the whole book, obviously, but let's go through the first few pages, and let's see if we can read that beginning part of the story. Okay, so I'll just open the front cover, and as you can see, it's got a date up there. It says 15th of May, and that's been crossed out, on 14th of December has been wrote in there. For why, your guess is as good as mine. And it says Doctor Who in an Exciting Adventure with the Daleks, based on the BBC television serial by Terry Nation, by arrangement with the BBC. And you can see that this first page has become a little bit loose in the book, so just need to be a little bit careful with that first page. And it says, text of book, copyright David Whittaker and Terry Nation, 1964. Doctor Who series, copyright BBC, British Broadcasting Company, 1963. Doctor Who was first published in the UK in 1964 by Frederick Muller Limited. This edition was published in 1965 by Mayfair Books Limited, Dorset House, 13A Old Burlington Street, London, West 1, and was printed in Great Britain by Love and Malcolm Limited, Brighton Road, Red Hill, Surrey, England. I said 1964, it's actually 1965 when this book was actually released. If you look back on our videos, we have actually done a video with the Frederick Muller hardback books, which were the first versions of these to be produced. But this was obviously a year or so later when the books were, the hardbacks had done their service, and now they were targeting a younger audience. So the Armada Paperback books were produced for children. So it's David Whittaker, Doctor Who in an exciting adventure with the Daleks. Cover and text illustration by Peter Archer, and you've got the Armada Books logo at the bottom there. And if we turn the first page, there was a colossal explosion as the two Daleks crashed. So that's an image there. And I think, if I scrap for the book, I don't know if there's any other images in this book. Probably not, in actual fact. I think it's just all text. I'm just gonna... Oh, no, there is a few images. I just went past one. So, yeah, there's one there of Ian, where he's just been clobbered by one of the Thals. Yeah, so there is a few images. As you read through, you will find a few of the images. I suddenly became aware of a dull humming noise, and that's where they reached the city of the Daleks. But let's start with the first few pages. I stopped the car at the end and let the fog close in around me. I knew I was somewhere on Barnes Common, and I had a suspicious idea it was the most deserted part as well. A warm fire and the supper my landlady would have waiting for me seemed as far away as New Zealand. I wondered how long it would take me to walk home to Paddington, and the possible answer didn't do anything to cheer me up. A fitting end to an impossible day, I thought savagely. For a start, before breakfast, I tore my best sports jacket on a loose screw on the door of my room. It didn't help that I'd been putting off tightening it for weeks, so I had nobody to blame but myself. Then later, after I'd driven all the way to Reigate for a job I was after as assistant research scientist at Dunabiz, the big rocket component firm, I found that a nephew of one of the directors had got the post, and I'd made the journey for nothing. Now, the fog and the prospect of a long, weary walk, I looked at my watch, delaying the decision as long as possible, nearly 9 o'clock. Just as the second hand completed its minute, I heard the sound of running footsteps, probably somebody as lost as I was. I told myself, welcome for a delay from the final decision to begin walking. Suddenly, into the pallid glow of my headlights, a girl appeared. She stopped, and I saw her hands moving slightly, and I could see her mouth opening to speak. I tore open the door and ran to her, catching her before she fell to the road. She hadn't completely fainted, and I could just make out the name she was saying, Susan. As I lifted her up and put her into the front seat, from her head rolled back on the seat rest, and she passed out altogether. She was in her early 20s. I guessed that she had one of those deceptive sort of faces, attractive yet very strong character. Her clothes were covered in mud, and her stockings hung in ribbons about her legs. There was a big rip in her jacket of her suit on her shoulder, and I could see the blood spreading over the material. I opened the bonnet and dipped my handkerchief in the radiator. This put an end to any idea of walking, I told myself, and the cut on her shoulder didn't look too good, and might even need some stitches in it. I went back to her, wringing out the handkerchief, wondering why she didn't have a handbag. Had somebody attacked her and stolen it? The obvious solution didn't occur to me. She began to move her head a little, and I bathed her forehead. Her lips quivered slightly. Susan, Susan. I could think about was how strange it was that she would want to tell me her name. And I suppose I was so preoccupied with this line, I thought that it was almost startling when she opened her eyes and looked at me. There was a pause and a second or two, and then I laid the handkerchief against her forehead. Rest quietly for a moment. You'll be all right. Susan, yes, I know. You started to tell me your name before. She shook her head and rescued the handkerchief and started to refold it. No, Susan is on the road, she said. She was in the car with me. I'll go and have a look in a moment. No, now, please. I heard the urgency in her voice. I nodded. All right. Is it straight ahead? I'll come with you. I must. She's hurt. What happened? The answer came to me almost as soon as I asked. Car crash. Yes, thank heavens you pulled up. You'd have driven right into it. She started to get out of the car. You've hurt your shoulder, you know. It's all right. I helped her, pretending I hadn't noticed the agony in her face as she moved her injured shoulder. You'll better show me, but say if you don't feel up to it. We began to walk along the road, and we had taken only a few steps before the fog swallowed up the headlights of my car, and the fog pressed in around us. I said, how badly hurt is she? I don't know. There was a load of blood on her face. It was a big lorry, an army one, I think. We groped our way forward, inching our way, but still I nearly tripped over the scatter wing of the lorry that had been wrenched away from the main body. I guided the girl around it, and broken glass began to crunch under our feet. It was a strange, eerie sound in the silence of the night. The outline of the lorry appeared, and we circled it around it cautiously. It was lying on one side and sprawled half in and half out of one of the driving cab windows was the upper half of an army corporal. I climbed up as far as I could on the twisted metal, and I looked at this to see if the man had been hurled sideways at the moment of impact, the glass of the window shattering but holding him from being thrown out into the roadway. I stared at him for a second or two and then stepped back on the road. Is he all right? Hurt badly or what? I looked at her, wondering what state she was in to hear what I was about to say. The pause seemed to be sufficient, for she turns her head and peered through the eddying mist at the body. He's dead. Okay, I'm not going to read any more because it's quite a long chapter, and it's going to take you through finding Susan and the first meeting with the TARDIS. So, but that gives you an idea of what the story begins. So he's obviously talking to Barbara Wright, who was driving Susan Foreman home, and in the thick fog they had this accident with this lorry. And from there on, they find the TARDIS and they venture into the TARDIS and meet the Doctor, and the rest is history. The Doctor goes off. They go off and they land on the dead planet, and then the rest of the story is pretty much the same as what was on the screen. So, terrific book from 1965. And now you're going to ask me how well this book did back in 1965. Well, it was a very, very, very popular book. It was the first time the story, any Doctor Who book had appeared in paperback. As I say, the Frederick Muller ones had been released a year or so before. In hardback only, and it was exactly the same story in actual fact, adapted from the TV series. So exactly the same story, but obviously they were in hardback, and there was two versions of the hardback. There was a grey cover and a pink cover, both of which are incredibly rare and very, very collectible these days. And as I say, these paperback novels are going the same way, but obviously these were a lot cheaper than the original hardbacks, and they are a lot cheaper than those original hardbacks if you can find those hardbacks now. So yes, very, very popular with the kids back in the 1965, and a mass-produced paperback book, and sold. I don't know how many times it was reprinted, but sold very, very well. Okay, so let's move forward 60 years to 2025, which is where we are today. So we're on the 60th anniversary of when this book was released. Question, do these items come up very often on the platforms? Well, they do still pop up on the platforms, not as frequently as they used to. They used to be loads of them appearing on the platforms. Obviously, I suppose as time goes by, you do find less and less appearing. People that actually look for this book have probably bought it and have got it in their collections. So yeah, they only pop up very, very rarely now. I think I did look online and see what was currently trending. I think I found one or maybe two of these books that were currently available to buy. Some of them were demanding huge amounts of money in actual fact, which is ridiculous because they're not worth the amount of money that some of them were put up for. But to answer the question, yes, they do appear semi-regularly on the platforms nowadays, but obviously not as often as they used to. But again, if you're going to buy on a platform, do please be very vigilant and have a good look at what you're about to order, because some of them use stock photographs, not all of them, but some of them use stock photographs and stock descriptions. And if that's what you're looking at and reading, and that might be what you think you're about to order, however, when you press the buy button, if there's any used available, it will send you the cheapest used item. So, and that might not be what you're looking for. So if it says used, click the used link and read the used books that are there and the one that you're about to order, because it might not be what you actually think you're going to get. Or alternatively, you can come to us at Midas Touch Toys, Games and Collectibles, and we do not believe in stock photographs. So what you actually see on the website is the item that you will actually be purchasing. Now, we have a few of these, a few copies of these books, all in very, very good condition, as is this one, although this one does have a slightly loose front page. But other than that, it is very good, apart from obviously the pages are beginning to tan, and that was all down to the fact of the cheapness of the paper that they used back in the 1960s, and the age of the book. So the paper did tan after a certain amount of time. But this and the few other copies we have are currently available to purchase on the Midas Touch website, which you can get to very simply by clicking the link below. It will take you straight to the website, where you'll be able to find this and many, many other vintage Doctor Who items, and many other vintage toys, games and collectibles come to that. There's over 10,000 products currently available on the website for you to view and purchase at your leisure. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button, because we're uploading videos for every new item that goes into the website. There will be something for everybody, and I am absolutely positive that this is something that you will not want to miss, because we literally have thousands and thousands of new items which we're shooting videos for and uploading on a daily basis. So if there is something in particular you are looking for, something old that you've never been able to find, something quirky you might want to buy for a friend, or perhaps just something from your childhood that you'd like to own again to help you recuperate those long lost childhood memories, well, stay tuned, keep watching, because you never know, the next item we upload could be that item you've been looking for. Okay, that is it for me on this particular item. I do hope you've enjoyed reviewing this wonderful, wonderful old Doctor Who paperback novel with me. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you again next video. So bye for now.